Right, lights, camera, action. On this week's show, we have one of the greatest graffiti writers who's an absolute beast with a spray can and destroyed loads of lines back in the day. And I'm a massive, massive fan. We have the one and the only TKid from the TNB, the Nasty Boys crew. Yes.
Yeah, what's
yes,
up,
T.
T,
How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, Steve. I'm doing good. What's going on, man? How's it over there on the other side of the pond, man?
It's probably the same as what it is on your side. You know, it's all a bit kind of strange times at the moment because we're in the middle of this kind of coronavirus. So at the moment, we're on lockdown.
Right. Yeah, they're easing up over here just a little bit, but it's been crazy, man. It's been freaking fucked up, man.
Big time. Yeah. I mean, it's as you said, it's slightly easing now. You know, we're able to kind of group in. I think it's about 6 people, you know, at the most at a time. But you've got a social distance.
Yeah, absolutely. Everywhere you go, you got to wear a mask. Like if I want to go to the grocery store or something, I got to definitely wear a mask.
Yeah, and rightly so. You know, we got to keep it at bay as well. So you know, we got to do all them things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's keeping, you know, all those ugly people out there, man. They need to wear that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about myself, by the way.
Listen, T, I can't wait to talk to you. You know, and touch it. You know, your old history as well as what you're up to now. It's going to be absolutely incredible.
Cool, man.
So, and I appreciate you. You know, it's an honor for you to come forward and to do this interview with me as well. It really means a lot, and I thank you as well.
It's my pleasure, man. My pleasure and my honor.
Thank you, my man. So the first kind of 2 questions I always ask is, you know, whereabouts are you from and what was it like growing up, you know, as a youngster?
Well, I grew up in the South Bronx. I'm from the Bronx, and I grew up in the South Bronx. I lived on a street called Boynton Avenue between Bruckner and Watson. And that's not exactly the South, but it's just there, and it was just as fucked up as anywhere else, man. And I grew up there, and it was back, like I was born in the 60s, man, so, you know, I'm kind of old.
T, what are you, kind of like mid-60s or late 60s?
Nah, I'm not 60 yet, man. I'm in my late 50s, man.
Oh, wow, so you was born early 60s?
I was born in the early 60s, man. Yeah, in fact, July will be my birthday. I'll be 59, man. And I'm still out there kicking it, man, still doing my thing.
Yeah, no, and so, I mean, you know, you don't look a day over 40.
Yeah, that's what she said.
And you know, back then, you know, what kind of music was you listening to growing up?
You know, it's funny because I grew up, man. You know, I'm Latino, man. I'm Puerto Rican, Peruvian. My father's Peruvian, my mother's Puerto Rican. So I listened to a lot of, as a young kid, a lot of salsa music from my mother, and then my father, that Peruvian music, which is like cumbias and stuff like that. But you know, the radio was always playing rock and roll and the pop music, and for me, like the soul music, man, was like the bomb for me, man. The soul music, and you know, I basically listened to everything. And it's funny because later on, like like after, I want to say after 76, 77, around there, they started, you know, the whole hip hop movement started underground before in the 80s when it became what it became. Yeah, we're talking about where they used to take beats from, you know, the rock and roll records, you know, any break beat from any record, man. Like my man Flash said, find any sweet spot on any one of those records, you know. And that developed that whole culture of hip hop and stuff. But I listened to all that stuff growing up, you know, before it became what it became. You know, it's funny because I'll hear beats and stuff on records, and I tell my kids, I say, yo, I got that record. And then I play the record, and they go, oh, that's where that came from? And they bug out, man. You know, and I said, yeah, they just don't, they sample this stuff, man. And, you know, it's really good to be a part of that, man.
Well, T, you know, those records back then, you know, they're classics, and they'll always live on because they're such incredible tracks.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you know, you'll find me listening, like whenever I'm in my zone doing my art and stuff, man, I'll always have some kind of beat going or some old school stuff playing, and, you know, I'll share it on Instagram, on freaking YouTube, whatever, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We got a radio station in London, UK. It's called Gold Classic, and it plays all the classics from like the 60s and the 70s. It's absolutely brilliant.
Nice.
A bit like R&B, the Spinners, you know, all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, The Spinners, man. It's funny because I got my first kiss to a Spinners record. One of a kind love affair, man.
Oh,
I
wow.
kissed this girl. Her name was Marilyn. One of a kind love affair by the Spinners. One of a kind love affair. Yeah, I took this girl, man, from my neighborhood, took her under the stairs and kissed her, man. And that record was playing out of somebody's house. They had the door open because that's how we did it in the Bronx. You open your door in the summer, you play your music and stuff, and you go through the whole building, man.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? And,
yeah, man.
And would you go into the park jams or the block parties?
When those came out, yeah, man. The best time for us, like me and my boys and stuff, man, me, Pessa, Race, a couple of guys, the original guys that I ran with and stuff, man, we would come out of the Ghost Yard or the One Tunnel and stuff. But the Ghost Yard especially, we would walk up Fordham Road and in DeVoe Park, they'd be jamming. Or if we went the other way into Cedar Park, that's where Kool Herc and them was jamming all the time. So we were constantly walking into something and just like straight out of a train yard after bombing and stuff, man, going there, washing ourselves up on the pump and just going chilling and just, you sit there, you shoot the Willy Bobo, talk shit about what we just did and listen to the beats and stuff. That was the move, man. That's
incredible.
Spirit, man. It'll always be in me, man.
That's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. I mean, I would have loved to have been around then. I would have been in my element.
Oh, absolutely, man. You would have loved it, man. It was because it was new, man. It was new. Everything that was going down, man, was just being created right there on the spot, man. Yeah. It wasn't people going into studios and messing around and create. Nah, they would get together, man. They would fuck up and say, that's how it was supposed to be. And you loved it, bro, because you was like, yeah, that's what it is, man. Pure energy, pure raw shit, just popping at you, man. Just like the pieces I do, man, and the trains that I painted, that's what it was all about, and that's what it represented, man.
It must have been like the hairs stood up on your arms, in that it must have been mind blowing.
My man, word. That there's like that feeling, man, I miss that feeling, man. I really do, man. Yeah,
no, I bet you do. So how did it come with you first? I mean, was you putting your name up first, like with tagging?
Yeah, I started. It's funny because I'm like everybody in New York, man. I started as a toy in 1973. My first tag was King 13. Yeah. And most of the time I just used to hit mailboxes in the park where I used to do my tricks on the swings and stuff, man. And got drafted into a gang and got into that culture. And next thing I know, I'm tagging all over the place, man. Then left one gang, went to another gang, and started writing Sen 102. And after I ended up getting wounded by some lead. I had a little case of lead poisoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got shot like 3 times and shit, man. After that shit, man, I ended up right there in the hospital, man. I remember I came up with the name TKid. That was 1977. I was 16 years old at the time. And I dedicated myself just to doing outside. Like I was done with that whole violence and stuff, man. And it was time for me to just, find who I was. You know what I'm saying? Find who TKid was. And that's what I did.
So you having like the lead in you, that kind of shook you up and that kind of inspired you to kind of find a positive light.
Well, really, the getting shot wasn't really it. What it was watching my mother cry when she came to the hospital. The anger that my father showed towards me afterwards and disowned me. That's really, really what had me, thinking. As a kid, man, you think you're indestructible. You think you're immortal. You think, shit like that. You brag about it, man. That's what we do with kids, man. But as I think back retrospectively, man, really what made me do the change was that, watching my mother suffer behind the bullshit that I was into, man. And I always had a good heart, I believe, and I always knew what was right and wrong and stuff. And watching the pain in other people really, put something in me. But that doesn't mean that, I became a monk. I bring that whole culture into the graffiti culture with me. That whhole gang shit, I bring that into the graffiti. And it took more time to get out of that, So
yeah. You kind of done it to, because back in the day, you was kind of respectful of your parents, of your mum and dad. I got nipped for doing graph in 1985. I started like 1983. I started doing graph. But when I got caught doing graph in 85, I got such a telling off that, I couldn't do it again because, it was getting out of hand.
Yo, let me tell you, I share one with you, man. The second time I got popped, man, you know, the cop said he was going to punch me in the face. And I remember the other cop comes in and says, yeah, he gets his phone call now. And I remember, again, I was in the middle of the 161st Street Transit holding pen there. And I get on the phone and I call my father and I say, hey, Dad, come and get me. This cop said he was going to punch me in the face, right? And the whole precinct, that whole place got quiet, right? And my father came and he got me. And let me tell you what happened. He smacked me all the way home in the car.
Who your dad or the police officer?
No, my dad.
Oh,
The cop didn't do shit, man. He just threatened me because I gave him a false name. You know, I didn't tell him who I was, you know, and I stuck with that. And then when I called my dad, I said, come here. This cop, he says, you better tell me who you are because I'm going to punch you in your face, right? And I told my dad that over the phone and I said it loud and everybody heard it. I didn't know I was doing that, but everybody heard it. And I guess at that time, they said, okay, fuck that. Let this kid out. And they let me out with a DAT, a disappearance ticket. And my father came and got me, and he was pissed. He was smacking me the whole way home. You know, that was good parenting back in the days. Did it stop me from picking the trains? No.
You know, back then, you know, if you was bad at school, you was going to get the cane or whatever.
Oh.
You know, I remember I swore at my dad. I told my dad to F off. And he made me eat half a bar of soap when I was about 8 or 9 years old. And I very rarely swear now, you know, because I had to eat a bar of soap, clean my mouth out.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of stuff like that, man. Yo, I identify, bro. That's all I can say. I identify because I've been there, done that. Yeah. You know, so yeah. That's how it was back in the days.
It was totally, yeah. And T, also, who was kind of inspiring you in the early years?
In the early years, man, like my first inspiration, man, was like what I saw on the trains, LK, Riff 170, those guys, you know, Phase 2. That was my inspiration. But when I went to live with my grandmother and stuff, man, you know, there was this cat named Padre. He used to write Bach 1, and then he became Padre Dos. He sat me down and he inspired me. He showed me the trains he did and stuff, and he started teaching me style. And at the same time, I met a cat named Tracy 168. That was it. When I met Tracy 168, he taught me everything I needed to know about painting, about people, about all the good stuff he taught me, man. Taught me how to live, you know, how to get my paint, how to do things, and who's who and what's what.
So Tracy was a massive inspiration.
Massive, man, massive. You know, he was pissed off at me one time, and he was doing an interview for a book, the hip hop book or whatever, and he goes, yeah, the TNT kid stands for Tracy's kid, you know. And I was pissed off for a long time because that's not true. But you know what? As much stuff as he taught me, man, you know, I've been called worse, you know? And it's an honor to be with that guy. And if he says I'm Tracy's kid, by all means, I don't give a shit. The T is for terrible kid. That's who I was, man, you know? But he taught me a lot of shit.
Terrible TKid 170.
That's me, brother. That's me, man, all the way, man.
And T, how did you get your name TKid 170?
So I was in the hospital when I got shot. I remember, man, my father wouldn't come visit me. My mother came to visit me, and I was handcuffed. Whenever they come visit me, they had me handcuffed to the bed because I was under arrest, you know? And I remember my brother, he brought me a little sketch pad and stuff and some buffalo markers and whatnot. And they used to call me Big T because I was tall and skinny. And when I played football, I'd be like, yo, throw the ball. And they say, he looks like a Big T. So they called me Big T. And in the gangs, I was always the youngest guy. So they call me Kid. And I remember I was just doing bubble letters and stuff. I said, Big T Kid. And I said, oh shit, T Kid, that's dope. Terrible kid, that's me. I'm terrible. You know, and 170th was the block that I lived on, man, when I had the best times. And I just used the 170 because I like the 170. You know, the T, the K, the I, the D, those are pretty straight letters. With the 170, it kind of flowed, you know? So that's how I kept that.
And that kind of stuck.
It kind of stuck, man. And you know, it's funny because I bombed a little bit on the insides, but then I just started killing the outsides, doing whole cars, end to ends, top to bottoms. That's what I did. That's what I specialized in, man.
And T, did you have kind of like a favorite weapon of choice? Did you have a favorite like marker or favorite spray? You know, like did you love the Rust-Oleum or the Red Devil?
Yeah, the Red Devil. You said it, man. You said it right there. Red Devil was my favorite paint. It flowed like cream. That paint was like cream to me, man.
Cream, I love it.
It was, yeah, man. It was like cream, bro. That shit, you put it on there, man. Yo, dude, the smell, everything, I loved it, man. It covered good, you know, depending on what colors. Some colors were runny, but that's with all paint. You know, Rust-Oleum, what I didn't like about Rust-Oleum was like halfway through the can, it started spitting, you know? The Krylons, you know, it's funny because everybody relates graffiti to Krylon spray paint, but Krylon was like one of the worst. You know, it was so transparent, it was so diluted, it would drip all over. No matter how much you shake it, it would drip. You have to spray far and stuff. You know, and mind you, back in them days, we didn't have all these caps and stuff that they have now. You know, what you had was Jafone from the oven cleaner and Niagara from the spray starch for ironing, you know, and those were your fat caps. And you had to use Niagaras. You could use Niagaras on Krylons, on Red Devils, and you had to use the Jafones on the Rust-Oleums, because if not, the paint would go everywhere, you know, and that's how we did. And we used fat caps and the stock caps. What we did with the stock caps is, like, in the winter, when they would freeze up, you put a little pin and they would give you a nice line, you know, with the stock caps, man. But, you know, that's where we did mostly everything with stock caps and Jafones and Niagaras, man. There wasn't all this stuff. And the colors, man, we have limited amount of colors, man. You know, whenever a new color would come out, man, you would tell somebody, everybody go to that store to steal the spray paint, bro. Looking for that color.
Everyone was on it. And
man.
And when I interviewed Scheme the other day, big shout out to Scheme as well. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's my man. Yo, that's my brother. I love Scheme, man.
He's such a humble guy. I love Scheme. You know, Scheme is an amazing guy. And anybody watching this, also watch the Scheme interview as well, because it's incredible. But Scheme was telling me that he made he got the pilot pen and he used to like put the needles in it. And
yeah,
like,
you pin it. That's called pinning your mark. And what it did, it made it like a mop. And then when the ink would come out more, like whenever you tag, that shit would drip. That's what that whole thing was about, man. It give you a nice, you know, flow and stuff, a nice thicker line and stuff. Because what you was doing, you was breaking up the felt, you know, and it would spread out. And you could get either a fatter tag, or if you put a lot of ink, it would drip really good, you know? Not that, but nice, you know? Because that's really how you want it. You want it control, you know, a nice drip, man. Not that whole where you can't read the name. You know, you always wanted people to know your tag, you know, and that was real important. And, you know, it's funny because Keem talks about that. Like, you know, it's good to see your tag and everybody can identify it. Everybody knows who you are, bro.
100%. And that's one of the questions I was going to ask you, T, was what does handstyle mean to you?
Handstyle for me is like a good flow with your marker, your penmanship, you know? Like me, I always had straight, man. I always had straight. When I was real young, I broke my hand. Like if you look at my hand, it's like a bump here. I broke it, you know, fighting and stuff. So I never really had that curvy motion. It's always straight. So for me, my style was always like straight up, TKid, you know, straight like that. You know, some people have a nice flow and they could do those nice loops and stuff. But for me, it was always a straight thing, man. You know, and so handstyle for me was more of like, you know, my tag represents who I am. I'm straight up. And you get a straight tag. Some guys, you know, they have them curvy names and, you know, they flow like that. But, you know, everybody was individual, man. Everybody did their own thing and everybody had their own style.
There's nothing like seeing, you know, a really kind of nice tag on a wall, you know, that's got style to it. It's absolutely incredible. I still look at it now. A few writers out there with amazing hand style.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yo, dude, I really wish I could get those real nice flow styles when I do my shit. But, you know, I am who I am and I do what I do. But I could appreciate what other people do and I like what other people do.
Yeah. And how did the, you know, the Nasty Boys crew form?
That was in 1977. That was me and Pessa. It was originally two Nasty Boys. Right, it was me and him because we was, you know, we was nasty. We was doing nasty things, tagging trains, you know. We used to go to this yard, the one yard, it's an elevated yard. And I remember the cops would come in and we would fuck with the cops. Like they'd be looking for us and we could see them, we'd creep around, we'd throw things at them and stuff and then run and get the fuck out of there, you know. And it's funny because we got away one time, we get chased, me and Pessa. And Pessa was a heavy set kid, but he could, you know, he got down and stuff. And I remember, man, we were over there out of breath by Van Cortlandt Park, hiding behind some trees and stuff, sitting down. And he's like, yo, we got away. And I said, yo, you know why we got away? And he goes, why? I said, because we nasty, bro. We two nasty boys, man. And that's how it came up, the Nasty Boys, man.
Wow.
You know? And later on, Yeah, later on, people got down, and from Two Nasty Boys, it became The Nasty Boys, you know, TNB. And then it progressed to the Neck Breakers, the nation's best, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the three letters anagram stand for, we came up with shit. You know, but it's really The Nasty Boys.
And T, you know, you was hitting many a yard and many a train back then. I mean, was you kind of all city as well?
I was all city, man. I would go to New Lodge, Utica, Kingston. You know, these are yards, you know, out in the Bronx, 241st Street, the 1 Yard. In Manhattan, the 1 Tunnel, City Hall, 178th Street layup. You know, we hit wherever there was, like I would hear there was a train, we would go. Metropolitan, Flushing, you know, I've hit almost every line at one point or another.
And when I interviewed Scheme, he kind of schooled me a bit because he was saying to be an all-city writer, it's not about having your piece up on every single train. It's about having your pieces up in every single borough.
Exactly. It's about, and it wasn't just your piece, it was also your tag. Most of the all-city guys, you know, they had a simple name like Is, like N1, DY, Justa, those cats. You know, they went all-city. I mean, the most famous first all-city rider that I knew that I seen get up was FDT 56. He bombed everywhere. And not just trains, but I'm talking about you walked into a park, there was an FDT tag. You saw a mailbox, it was an FDT tag on it. In every borough, okay? And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of riders say they're all city and they hit every borough, but that's not true. Staten Island, a lot of guys, because you have to take a ferry, a boat into Staten Island, they didn't go to Staten Island. Not many riders go to Staten Island. I was one of the ones that went out there, me caught up with Rin One and them cats, man, me, Shock 123, Boozer, because Boozer and Rin lived in in Staten Island. And we would go out there and hit the parks and bomb over there and stuff. And they had their own little train. They had one line that go from one side to the other, city of Staten Island. And we hit that shit, but they were buffered all the time. So a lot of riders that claim all city, that hit in every borough, didn't do Staten Island. I've done Staten Island, you know? So I've hit my Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island. I was all city, you know?
You was all over the shop. You must have been like a little kid in a sweet shop. You must have been like...
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yo. The world was my fucking oyster. New York was like my town. Once I left the block, there was no limit, man. I lived everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I lived everywhere. I would go and stay in my boys' houses, stay for a fucking month in Staten Island. I go to Brooklyn, chill with my boy. I remember living on fucking Hawthorne Street out there in fucking bumfuck Brooklyn and shit, man. You know? And chill out there for 1 or 2 months. Same thing in Queens, same thing. Well, the Bronx was always my home. Manhattan, you know what I'm saying, man?
T, you had the fever, didn't you? You really had the fever.
Oh, absolutely, bro, absolutely. I had that. I was addicted to graffiti, bro. In fact, the graffiti was my first drug.
And and how did it feel when you first done your first training? You see it running on the rail. You must have been like the hairs must have stood up. You must have been like, wow, this is my first train going past.
You know, it's funny because you would think that, but my first piece was so fucking whack. What went through my mind was, yo, I want to do it better. I want to do that shit better. Wait a minute, how can I do it better? I remember showing the picture to Padre. My man, you know, and I didn't even take the picture. It was my man Pessa. He took the picture and he gave me a shot, and I showed it to Padre. Padre said, yo, that shit is whack. And I was like, man, I know, man. He was like, yo, man, this is what you got to do. And not for nothing, I followed his advice, and the next piece came out a little better. But when I did my first real dope piece, that's when I got that feeling like, wow, I saw that shit, man, on the one line, because it's funny, the one line, the only station that comes above ground in Manhattan is 125th Street on the one line. You know, and there's a story behind that people don't know. It's actually a fault line that runs across 125th Street from east to west. And the only reason that line is elevated is because they can't dig under there because of that fault line. Otherwise, it would all been underground. Yeah. So I remember taking a picture up there, and you know my book, you see me holding my little tiny boombox. That's 125th Street station. And that's where I would like to take my pictures whenever I hit the one line. And I remember when I saw that first dope TKid, man, yo, I was like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And I remember the cans I used. I used Red Devil, Bermuda Blue, the Hot Pink. Yo, dude, man, the freaking Fed Safety Purple, Fed Safety Greens. I would blend them shits in there, man. That shit came out so fucking good, man.
It's absolutely incredible. And TKid, what was it kind of like in the yard? I mean, was it like a military operation? Did you go in at like certain times of the day or night, or did you go in whenever you wanted, when you felt like it?
Well, you had different kind. Okay, yards, they're active during the week. People work in there, so you sit. And on the weekends, they're quiet. And there wasn't a military style thing in the beginning. In the beginning, you just used to go and, find a spot, break the fence, climb over the fence and go in the yard and paint, do your thing and get out. The same thing with the layups, like the 145th, between 145th and 137, they call that the one tunnel. They laid up trains in there. The 1 yard out in Upper Manhattan there by Van Cortlandt, that yard was hot. You had a layup, Gun Hill in the Bronx, where they would come and lay up the train there. And you had, the best thing about that particular one, they had a little club called what was it, T Connection. And on Friday nights, you could hear Flash playing there, bro.
Yeah.
And we would paint the trees up on the layup and listen to Flash playing out of T Connection and all the fights breaking out in front and all that shit. That was the fucking move, man. That was the shit back then.
That was amazing. I've heard about the T Connection. I know that dates back to the old school of hip hop.
Yup, man. That was a spot. That little spot right there was dope, man. And, it wasn't like a military thing, although, later on it got a little harder. And nothing on, like you go to Europe and stuff now, the writers nowadays, they scope places out and they check everything. They time what time the cleaning crew gets in, what time they leave, what time the first train pulls out. We didn't do that. We didn't do it like that. Nowadays, I can see where you have to do that because it's a little harder, a little tighter.
Also, you got to be very careful because the yard is not a safe place, is it? It's full of like electricity and, people have died on the rail. So,
Listen, when it comes to, when you're a kid and stuff, you don't think about these things. But as you become more prolific in what you're doing and you gain experience and you know not to touch the third rail. I've seen guys, man, put their foot on the third rail and try to, because we have a wood covering over our third rail. In Europe, wherever there's a third rail, there's usually no cover. You don't ground yourself. And I've seen guys, man, like chase a can and almost electrocute themselves to death because of that, trying to grab a can that fell on the third rail and stuff. Once you ground yourself, man, you're fucked. But you learn not to do that kind of stuff, man. You become you get an awareness of what's going on, and especially when you're painting, bro. When you're painting, like all your senses are alive, bro. You're aware. You can smell the paint. You can hear, like freaking at the distance if someone's coming. You can feel when the train is coming. You develop this awareness and stuff, man.
Like an inner sense.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. You develop that sixth sense, the train sense.
The train sense. I love it.
Yo, it's fucking dope, man. It's fucking awesome, man. And I miss that, man, because see that's the difference between back then and today. I know, listen, much respect for the Bombers today, what they do today, they're dope and stuff, and I got nothing but love for them, man, because I got nothing but respect and love for these guys, because what they do is amazing, But back in the days when it was all new, it was like, running into those street jams in the parks and stuff, it was brand new, man, and everything was like, wow. Nowadays, it's okay. It's passe. And a shame, man. It's a shame because nowadays they buff everything you do right away. It doesn't last around. It doesn't last. You can't really see it or enjoy it. And you don't get that element that you need, the competition. Because this is what kept it going back in the days was, guy would do a train and you saw that come by on your line and you're like, yo, I got to burn that. Nowadays, a writer will do something, they'll buff it right there so you don't see it and you don't get that I gotta burn it feeling, man, That's what elevated graffiti, bro, That shit was like, yo, it was the move, man.
That was amazing. Did T as well, did you have any like favorite trains that you'd paint on, or did you you just paint on any train? You wasn't actually too bothered?
Well, you was at the mercy of whatever train was in the layup. And back then they had a lot of different trains. They had the R30s, the R17s, they had different kind of trains. In the Ghost Yard, you would catch everything. The ones that I didn't like too much were the Ridgies, because you couldn't get too detailed. You could do throw-ups and stuff and straight letters, big stuff, But when it came to doing window down burners and stuff like that, you wanted a flat panel. And I love the silver and blue trains. That blue stripe, when they came up with that in the 70s, that was like, yo, but when they painted, what was it, 80, I want to say 82, 83, when Mayor Koch decided to paint every train white and dare us to paint them, dude, it was like putting canvas on them things for us, man. We just went in there left and right. He tried dogs, that didn't work. He tried razor wire, that didn't work. We still got in, then it became a little more militaristic getting into those yards.
Yeah, yeah.
We destroyed them, man. You know, we painted like crazy, and it was like, yo, now all these colors are working. You don't have to double coat because, you know, that white was pretty good, man, you know, and it would take the color and stuff, man.
Because I remember, you know, when Stylewars first come out, and, you know, I think in the UK it was, I think it was about 84, 85 on Channel 4. You know, it blew us away. We was like, you know, obviously Subway Art had come out a year before that, which was incredible as well. But, you know, Stylewars was amazing.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man. Freaking Henry put that shit together. You know, and it's funny, man. I tell you a story. You know, Henry had asked me to narrate that. He said I had a good voice for that. Yeah. You know? And I was like, you know, I was underground at the time. I was like, nah. You know, I told him, yeah. But then, you know, I disappeared and I was doing my own thing. I was bombing trains and stuff. I wasn't, you know, it's funny because when I did my pieces, I didn't do pieces for anybody to take pictures of them. I did them for me, you know, because that's what it was all about. Getting up and bombing and shit, man, and doing your thing, you know? And, you know, I kind of like avoided that whole wave of graffiti writers going from trains to galleries, to exposure. I stood away from that because I was still underground, I was still hardcore, and I wasn't ready for that stuff yet, man, you know? And, you know, I you know, retrospectively, I should have done it because everybody would have known who I am, you know? But you know what? I'm glad to know that he did ask me to do it, and I was glad to say that, you know, I went with my gut feeling at the time. I stood true to myself and said no, you know? But at the same time, I got nothing but love and respect for that movie, because if it wasn't for that movie, if it wasn't for that book that Martha Cooper and Henry put together, Subway's Graffiti Art, the year before, you know, they didn't put that together, man, you know, it wouldn't become the worldwide culture that it is today.
It was incredible. Those books were incredible. I mean, you know, there was a few of us doing graffiti before Subway Art around kind of 1983.
Absolutely.
But when Subway Art hit, it was like, it blew our minds. We was like, this book is absolutely incredible. It's kind of like the Bible of graph.
Yes, it is, man. Yes, it is. You know, I just gave you a perspective, a different perspective, because I know, listen, one thing I know, people travel. So people knew about graffiti long before Subway Graffiti Art and any of those books, you know, spray can art. People knew already, you know. I met writers, man, that came to New York back in those days that were tagging up, you know. But when they experienced what was going on in New York and they saw how massive it was, because really that's what it was. It was huge, massive in New York, you know. It was massive, and at that time, it was because of that element of competition, of I gotta burn you, you know, that's how it got so big, you know. That attracted everybody, and when they saw it in those books, man, y'all started doing the same shit.
And we was kind of mimicking, you know, your style, because there were so many incredible pieces in Subway Art. We was kind of trying to copy those pieces. Absolutely,
man. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely, man. You know, and that's good, because you know what? From that, you guys developed your own styles, man. You came up with your own shit and started doing. Now, you know, it's amazing. I go all over the world, man. I get with writers from wherever they are, man, and see what they do. And they go, yeah, I remember when I saw this book, look what I do today. And I'm like, wow, that's dope, man. That's dope.
I mean, in London, I'd say things were really advancing in 1985. You know, you had crews like the Trailblazers, which then formed as the Chrome Angels. You had Tough Arts. You had the Supreme team from Southeast London. There were some incredible crews putting together some amazing graffiti pieces, especially like Mode 2. I mean, because you come to London, didn't you, in 1985? Because I remember seeing...
In 85, man, I'm going to tell you, man, I came to London and I was painting a mural in Vauxhall Crossing for TDK Cassettes, man. A company called Newton and Godwin had hired me to come and paint the New D cassette from TDK's, you know. And while I was painting that, Pride came over from the Chrome Angels, you know, and I met Pride. And I remember talking with him, and, you know, I was like, okay, this guy's all about ego, you know the bullshit that runs through our heads and stuff, meeting new things, new people, you know. But he was mad cool, and he introduced me to Chrome Angels, and I met Awful Dodger. I met this little guy named Mode 2.
Mode 2,
you know, and he was out there. And I remember he came over to my hotel over in, I was staying at the Park Lane Hotel at the time, right? And he came over and he drew some stuff for me, and I still got it. That's like my prize, you know, I love that shit. And I saw how amazing he was drawing, but he didn't have letters. Like his letters weren't what they are today. And I remember sitting there.
His characters were next level. The characters.
Oh, forget it. His characters were amazing. But, you know, he says, yo, T, how do I do letters? And I showed him a simple way to do letters, you know, and that's how he does his letters today. And they're fucking amazing, man. Yeah, you know, and then I remember after that night, we got together and we went over to Covent Gardens, you know, and it's fucked up because the paint we had that I had was that chisel cap paint. I didn't have no like Bontlac, none of the good shit. I didn't even know about Bontlac yet. You know, it wasn't until after that. You know, Mo bring a couple of cans.
The car plan era.
Yeah, exactly, man. You know, and it was those chisel caps where it did that straight. So, you know, my piece, man, I couldn't come off the way because I never worked with that stuff, you know. But it came off, man. But yo, after that, forget it, man. I just became a beast, man. And I remember when I found out about Bontlac. In fact, I remember taking Artful Dodger, I think it was, and Mo 2. And we went to Piccadilly Circus, and then, you know, all those little tourist spots there. And I was showing them how to rack up, how to steal. And I stole a couple of shirts, and they're looking at me like, what the fuck is he doing? You know? And I was like, hey, this is how you do it, man. Real quick, you see, blah, 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 blah. You know? And, you know, we just, you know, it was a cultural exchange. So
you know? T, Artful Dodger was amazing as well. You know, the Artful Dodger, do you remember the Artful Dodger tag, that old English calligraphy stuff?
Yep. That was the first, like, I want to say calligraphy tag that I seen, man, the way he did it, man. It was so fucking do that. That shit was nasty, bro. That kid was good, man. Pride was an amazing artist. Mo 2 was, what do they call that, man? A prodigy. Mo 2 was a prodigy, bro. And he still is, man. To this day, that dude is fucking amazing. And I got nothing but love and respect for that man. He is so fucking dope with everything he does, man.
He's an amazing
you know, I look back and it's such an honor. I could actually say I painted with Mo 2. I got to meet the Chrome Angelz, you know? Dude, when I started doing graffiti, man, I never thought I was leaving the fucking corner of my block.
And then you was in London amongst it all, yeah.
I'm telling you, man, shit, that was amazing, man. That's fucking amazing, man. Yo, that's what graffiti did for me, man. It took me all over the world, man. You know, it's funny because, you know, I worked all my life, man. I retired from my job. I did my 25 years, and I'm 49 years old when I retired. And everybody's like, what are you, crazy? You could keep going, man. You're still young. And I was like, yo, fuck that. I'm going to do me now. And the first thing I did was started traveling again back in 2009, and it's been nonstop ever since. The only thing that stopped me from traveling is this fucking pandemic bullshit, man. They won't let me get on a fucking plane and go to Europe, man, where I love to go. I love Europe, man. Yeah. I love it out there, man.
Now, listen, and we love you as well, especially when you come to London. You know, you meet up with all the writers in London. You're absolutely brilliant. Last time I see you was in London at the Trellick Tower, and you was doing a good piece there. I think. Part one was there, and
it was me. It was that whole Chrome and Black. They put that together at Chrome and Black shop. Good guys over there, man. Great guys. So there was a lot of us there, man. We did Trellick Part. It was funny because I remember I was wearing a pair of shorts and they broke. So my ass is sticking out all over the place, and I'm doing my piece. And it's funny because they only gave me 10 cans, and they were shocked that I did that big piece with only 10 cans. They were like, yo, I'm amazed that you was able to finish that with only 10 cans. I was like, yeah, man. What they didn't know is I was stealing paint from the guy that was painting next to me. When he wasn't looking, I was taking his can.
There's no school.
I'm telling you, man. Hey, listen, man. Once you learn and you learn something, you know, you have to use it.
you don't forget it.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, man.
And T, can you you got the 149 Grand Concourse in the background? I can see it there. Obviously, that's where the writer's bench was.
Absolutely. I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to the writer's bench, but obviously that was in.
Yo. Thank you, pandemic. There was nobody there.
You
know what I'm saying? Right? I don't have to say anything, but you know. I was just like, you know, shit, the bench. You know, that's a piece of history.
I'm surprised you didn't take the bench as well.
They got rid of the bench, dude. They got rid of the bench back in the days, man. They knew once they found out that's where we all met and hung out. They got rid of the fucking bench, dude. If it was there, I would have took it. I would have
carried it on your back.
Shit. I would have carried it. Go ahead.
T, can you tell me about, you know, how of an important place the writer's bench was.
That's where you met up with everybody, and you share your war stories. That was like the ultimate graffiti hangout, because you never knew who you was gonna meet there, bro. People would come, people would hear about it and show up eventually, and you would exchange ideas. You hit each other's black books, man. That's what that was all about, bro. And that was the importance of it. It was that because that's where we all unified, man. Where we all got united, we all talked and stuff, And if there was any beef, you squash it right there. You talk and stuff. Because most of the beef was, like Bantu said, man. That was another All City King. Bantu said it the best. He goes, yo, man, I probably went over you in the dark and didn't even know because the lights was off and I was just doing my thing. I didn't do it on purpose. And a lot of shit started like that. So you would talk it out and say, yo, man, dude, sorry, I don't know. But you would get together and then next thing you know, man, you become friends with people and now they're taking you to their yards and stuff. And it was just like a place where you had an exchange of ideas, all kind of shit, man. What we gonna paint next and stuff. The Kingston is good. These last couple of days, Kingston's been okay, for the rush hour layup. Oh, let's go to Kingston, Or yo, man, fucking Metropolitan Yard, man, is hot. Don't go there right now. So you wouldn't go, that's where you would hear shit, man, So yeah, it was very important. And that's why they got rid of the bench.
Yeah, because they didn't want you to meet up there anymore to carry on discussing about, your next mission.
Yeah, they started watching it for a while too. They would watch it there, like the Vandal Squad. They would watch you, and because it's funny because that's where the 5 and 2 train would meet up. The 2 train would come from the west side, and the 5 train would come from the east side, and they would meet up. And then if you go upstairs, you had the 4 train. You had the 4 train. So they had like a bridge over the tracks that you go from the downtown side to the uptown side. And when you came down that bridge on this side by the stairs right there, that was the bench. That was the bench, and that's where the sign was. So they would watch you from the bridge or from the elevator. They would watch you, So, they got rid of that and people stopped meeting there after a while. And I'm gonna say that was like in the late 80s when that finally happened, when they got rid of the bench.
T, can you remember like who was getting to the writer's bench first and when it was kind of formed into like the writer's bench?
Yeah, that shit started way back, man, with them cats like Kindu, Riff 170, Phase 2. Them are the guys who started that shit. They would meet there, man. Stay High 140. Before all these other cats that say they have now. Well, I'm going way back. I don't, nobody knows exactly. All I know is Tracy told me about it. And Tracy was painting since fucking early 70s. By 72, he was doing characters on trains. You know what I'm saying? Between him and Cliff, there's a discussion who did the first character on the train. Was it Cliff with his Beetle Bailey, or was it Tracy with Yosemite Sam? But we all know that it was FaZe who took the tag and put an outline on it and made it into a piece.
Yeah, FaZe was incredible. That kind of
FaZe, man, he rest in peace.
Yeah.
FaZe is the undisputed godfather of graffiti. Phase 2, because all the styles that he created, his protege, Riff 170, bro, that cat right there, everything he taught to Riff or Riff learned off of him, whatever, Riff became a master, Riff 170, and he started doing different names, testing letters and doing stuff like that, and he passed that on. Eventually from Phase 2 bubble style, Riff starting the beginning of the mechanical styles, to the shit that we do and see today, bro, that's all comes back from that, So those were the guys, I want to say were the first ones. And it's funny because the first ones, they didn't go with black books. They would take the advertisements from the train. They would put and you take them out, these like little square posters and stuff, rectangle posters, and they would draw on the back of it. Because it was like a piece of cardboard that you could draw on and stuff. And they would sit there and draw, and you would see them there with them big fucking things and shit, man, drawing their fucking, I got an idea. But those were the guys, man. So, I'm going to give it to the early 70 guys, man, that started that writer's bench tradition, man. Later on, then everybody else, came along and stuff. Yeah. But it was done.
Yeah, incredible. And T, basically like graffiti sort of writing, it ended up becoming one of the kind of pillars of hip hop. I think that was a lot to do with kind of like the Zulu Nation bringing in like the elements, because originally graffiti, you know, hip hop wasn't really around when the graph was going on back in the early 70s.
Right. Right. Graffiti was a thing on its own before, you know, the whole hip hop culture. You know, you want to say, yeah, but I'm gonna tell you, even the term hip hop, you know, we didn't call it hip hop. No. That didn't come to, I want to say, what was that, 82, 83?
I interviewed Cosmo D from Nucleus, who done, you remember Jam On It and Wiki Wiki? He's from Brooklyn, and he was telling me that he was calling, before it was hip hop, he was calling it funk back in like 1981.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, because you got to remember the music, you know, because at that time, Parliament Funkadelic, well, it was Parliament at the time. They were coming up with some dope, you know, funky acid funk type shit, and that, you know, you used a lot of those beats. So I could see where they called it funk, but you know, all we called it was jams. In the Bronx, where it started, we called it jams, because that's
the joint, that's the jam.
Exactly. That's what we would call it, just jam. Yo, they're jamming, man. They're jamming. They're in the park jamming. It wasn't, oh, there's a hip hop joint going on in the park. It was, yo, they're in the park jamming. That's how it was, bro. That's what we call it, jams. You know, scratching, whatever the freak, whatever. Listen, man. So I want to say that at that time, you know, it was because of what was going on, the culture. So you had the graffiti on one end, you know, and for us, you know, the graffiti writers, the music celebrated the graffiti art, because when they sang about what we was doing, you know, what we was going through, you know, the clothes we were wearing. So it was about, the music was the voice, but the visual was the art, was the graffiti. And someone that during this time, because most of the people that were breakdancing, most of the people that were DJing were involved with graffiti one way or another, you know? Because, yo, if you was a DJ, you wanted somebody to do your backdrop. You know what I'm saying? Who did they get? Phase 2, me, whoever, Tracy, you know? And that's how it just got all like a big soup, you know?
And then it kind of all...
Throw in some fat shoelaces, throw in some Krylon, throw in some beats, you know, and stew that shit up. Man.
It's so true. And what was inspiring you? Because what was inspiring you with your pieces as well, TKid? Because obviously, you know, you've done some incredible characters as well. You know, it wasn't just about the piece. It was also about the characters, the 3D. It was literally like a blockbuster.
Yeah. Yo, it's funny, man. I'm gonna tell you a story, man. See, what inspired me was city life. Back in the days, like the late 70s, man, you know, I used to drive a gypsy cab. You know, I used to drive a gypsy cab. If you don't know what a gypsy... I want to talk
to you about the gypsy cab, because I'm a taxi driver in London. I drive a black cab. So I want to talk to you about the gypsy cab.
Okay, so gypsy cab is not a yellow cab. In fact, back in the days, the gypsy cab was the car that you got in that would go wherever the yellow cabs wouldn't go. You know, that was us. You know, and basically was you got insurance and they gave you a plate called livery plate, you know, a livery plate. And you're not supposed to pick up people in the streets. You're only supposed to answer calls. But we used to pick up, we would pick like the Bronx, Brooklyn, you know, that's where we would make our money and stuff, because no yellow cabs would go. So you would see people hail you down, you pick them up, and the cops didn't bother you, you know. But I would meet people and I would talk with people. I would see things like the architecture, the buildings. Like I would go by and I see people in the corners with their big boom boxes and shit, playing Nucleus, playing whatever, you know. And you know, that inspired me, and I wanted to put that as a graffiti artist. You know, I wanted to put that on my pieces and stuff. And you know, the character that I started doing, you know, was Tracy influenced me with the face the first time. But you know, for me, it wasn't just the face; it was the whole body. What's he doing and leaning and all this? Because I would see people standing next to poles and stuff with their boxes chilling, with their fly gear on, the gold and whatnot. You know, the fat shoelaces. I wanted to put all that into my pieces and stuff. And it was from driving this cab that I would ride around, because I used to work at night, man. And I would see shit, man, like crazy, bro. It was fucking awesome. And that would inspire me. You know, that would inspire me. Like, I was like, okay. Then when I was finished, man, I go out to Jersey, hit some stores, rack up paint, you know, and wait for the nighttime, take a nap, wait for nighttime, go hit the yards and shit, you know. That's how it was.
It was like the perfect job.
Yeah, perfect. It suited my lifestyle perfectly at that time. You know, it suited my lifestyle perfectly, man.
And it's quite funny because that's why they call me All City. It's all the All City thing has got nothing to do with graffiti writing. It's to do with being All City London, all like driving around in the cab.
Yeah, dude, I know that. I know that feeling. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely, man.
And T, can you give me, is there any like big highlights from back then?
As graffiti or?
No, any big highlights, to be honest.
Well, let me see. One of the big things for me, man, I want to say was during the 80s, man, you know, I remember showing my work in Fashion Moda, meeting some people, Carol Janis from the Sydney Janis Gallery, and they came down and they were asking me to do some work for them. I was shocked, man, because, you know, I wasn't really above ground and stuff yet. Also, here's a good one, man. When I was invited by, I don't know if it was Zephyr or Revolt, who it was Mint, who was friends with Zephyr at the time. Sam Esses, he started a graffiti collection. And I was there with everybody. I was there when Futura was testing a can of paint, and he developed the circles that he did in his first, like, you know, canvases and stuff, where it was by mistake. I was there watching, and we were like, yo, you should put that shit on the canvas. That shit is dope, man, you know? And he did, and he blew up, bro. You know what I'm saying? That was a special moment. That was the Sam Esses studio, man, and became, you know, and I'm part of that Sam Esses collection, man. You know, the Sydney Janis collection, but Fashion Moda, man. Fashion Moda in the Bronx, man. That was like a jam all the time. You go there, yo, you know, not for nothing. That's where I was the only guy to ever fight with Notorious Cap, you know, from MPC, man, going there. He came over to the show, yeah, yo, TKid, because I was going to fuck up Cope too, you know, because I was like, yo, Cope, man, you know, you Puerto Rican. Why you writing with these fucking crazy dudes going over everybody, bro? I'm going to fuck you up. And he was like, he went back to Cap, says, yo, I quit MPC. TKid was going to fuck me up. And Cap said, oh, Tracy told me they're going to be over at Fashion Moda Saturday. Let's go over there. And he came over and he wanted to fight with me, and we got into a fight. He thought I was going to run or something. You know, I was a skinny kid and I could fight. You know, he was a big motherfucker, bro. He was a big dude and strong, but he didn't have the skills, man. You know what I'm saying? And yo, I was wailing and stuff. He grabbed me by my face and he wouldn't let go. But I was bam, bam. In fact, we threw each other to a fake wall, and I ended up on top of him, right? And then they broke us up. And I remember I was with my boy Sam, and I told Sam, I said, yo, if we start throwing down again, stab him. We was gonna kill him, you know? And Tracy broke it up. Tracy said, nah, y'all gonna make peace, blah, blah, blah. You're my boy. So we made peace that day. And not for nothing, I got number respect for Cap, man. You know why? Because he came, he stuck up for his boy Cope at the time, you know, and confronted me, backing up his boy Cope. And I respect that. I respect you looking out for your little soldier, you know. And now Cope was one of my best friends, you know, a little crazy and stuff, but I love him. He's a good guy, man, you know. Cap, you know, he's a legend. He's a fucking legend, man. I'm the only one who ever fought him, bro. Out of everybody. They all talk shit, but I was the only one to fight him. And I fought him, you know? And I got a good piece of him, you know? I broke his nose, you know? But, you know, and I'm not saying that to brag, man. I'm just saying that's what you did as a kid. You did that shit as a kid.
Yeah,
you know? That was a big highlight, because after that, the respect I got from the whole graffiti world, because everybody was there. Everybody was there. You know, I got big time from Stan 153, man. Rest in peace, man. Case 2. Case was like, yo, Kid, man. Wow. And Case was a madman, bro. You didn't want to fuck with Case. You know, I got number of respect. That was a good moment, man. You know, and just so many, man. There's so many that I can't even. Yeah. Henry Chalfant's 50th birthday party, man. That was a jam, bro. That was a fucking jam. Everybody was there. Everybody was there, man. That was a good moment, man. You know, and if I sit back, I can't just say just one. There's just too many of them, man. Too many special moments, man. Highlights that. Dude, I wrote the whole fucking book on this shit, man. Yo,
and you've got a DVD as well, because I've got.
Man. The nasty terrible TKid, aka Julius Cavero, the nasty terrible. Yo, it's available. I think you could get it on Google Play. If not, yo, hit me up, tk170@gmail.com, bro. You know. Just throw me a couple.
I've got a copy of it. You signed it.
Where in Shoreditch? Was you there in Shoreditch?
Yeah.
My man. Yeah.
On my wall, I'm going to show you in a minute. On my wall, where I'm living, I've got one of your posters.
Oh, nice.
I'll show you in a minute to
Cool,
prove I'm not
cool.
lying.
Cool.
But listen, T, what I can say is what an absolutely incredible interview.
Thank you, man. Yo, it was great talking to you, my bro.
You know,
it was dope. I'm gonna tell you, man. I'm gonna tell you, Scheme. I talked to Scheme. Scheme was like, "Yo, you gotta do the interview. You gotta do it. This guy is mad cool, man." I was like, "Man." And then when I saw you, I said, "Wait a minute, I know this guy from somewhere. Where the hell do I know you from?" And then now we're talking Trailer Park. Fucking that time when I was out there with Park, we was doing that show, man.
Yeah.
We was doing the movie debut out there. So yeah, it was pretty cool, man.
You know, Scheme's an absolute beast as well. I mean, you guys are absolutely incredible. But before I end this, anybody watching this interview, please subscribe to this channel. Check out my interview with, I've interviewed Part 1. I've interviewed Scheme, Public Enemy, DJ Qbert, DJ Cash Money, Willie Estrada from the Imperial Bachelors gang from the Bronx.
Nice.
You know, I've interviewed some incredible artists. And TKid, I take my hat off to you. You know, it's an absolutely incredible interview.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. It was my pleasure, my honor, man. I want to say nothing but love for everybody out there, man. You know, stay safe, man. You know, do your thing, stay up. You know, get caught, keep your mouth shut. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. And also, man, if you want to check me out, man, TKid170 at IG, just TKid170. You could always DM me. And I also got art available at tkidshouse.com, TKIDSHOUSE.com. It's in French. That's my French guy. You know, we got art there and stuff, man. And always, like I said, TKid170 at gmail.com. Hit me up. You know, I'm available.
And also a big shout out to Dom1 as well, because
Dom1, my man, Dom, yeah, man. Oh, by the way, let me just say, man, they're putting together a benefit. I'm donating a piece of art. A lot of people, Mo2 and stuff, they're putting that together. I don't have all the details in front of me, but it's a art COVID relief, you know. Dom, he's putting that together, man. Him and a couple other people. I'm donating a piece of art, so check it out.
But T-Kid, listen, absolutely incredible talking to you. And once again,
my pleasure, Steve.
And listen, when you come to London, I'm going to take you out personally in my black cab and take you around a tour of some of the spots. Nice. That'll be dope because probably next year, I'm going to hold you to that because next year my wife likes to run marathons and she wants to do the London Marathon. Yeah. So maybe around that time, we might find ourselves in your town and I'll hit you up. Listen, I'll take you out in the cab. All city style, all city. Cool, man. That sounds beautiful, brother. Listen, take care, my man. Stay safe. Peace.